Hello and welcome back. We are on lesson 151. This lesson says all things are echoes of the voice for God. So, what does that mean? That basically means that everything you experience, everything is the voice of God. Underneath it, not the illusion of the fear, the judgment, the anger, the sadness. Underneath it, there's God's presence. It's just sometimes you're not viewing it through that lens and therefore it's distorted. And it says here that it's basically saying what we've said before. You're either viewing all of those signs that you see and those interactions that you have with people, either through the lens of love or through the lens of fear. So, either through the lens of truth or through the lens of distortion as a result of your ego. And this is so easy for us to do, to judge by appearances, right? It's something that we all naturally do unconsciously. And this is why we're doing this work to allow us to recognize the divinity in all things. And I was just saying to Karina, I love this because I've had a couple of things happen this week and last week where usually I would have judged. In fact, usually I would have been like, so different. Like one of them was I was just walking into a supermarket and there was this homeless guy. Do you know what? And after this experience, I was like, wow, that was magic, which sounds so weird. But there was this homeless guy that just happened to be walking just in front of me in the shop. And I can't even explain it. Like I can see it so clearly in my eye. He just did the most divine wink. It's like I stared God right in the eye. Whatever God, it was pure divinity. He just went like this. Like, and I was just like, I was so taken back because I didn't see him for the homeless person he was. It sounds weird. This sounds really weird, but all I felt was like love and attraction towards him, right? Which was like, obviously, when my ego started to get involved, I was like, oh, this is weird because that's a homeless guy. But I was like, the way he winked is because in that moment I didn't judge by appearances. I looked as if I was seeing through the lens of God, and what I saw back was God. Right. It was so divine. And another experience that happened yesterday, I was walking home and it just happens when I'm in this present state. When I'm in this present state, but not observing really anything around me, kind of floating through reality, but really just in this divine bubble. I can't explain it. I would say when I'm connected to the essence of who I am, but you might not know who that is. And I believe that when I connect to the essence of who I am, I'm connected to my divinity. So I'm trying to explain what that is, but it's just pure presence, right? There's no thought, there's no noise, it's just bliss. You're literally just floating around. It's so nice. And I was just like walking happily just on my way home. And this guy just like comes up and just goes, like pats me. I'm like, ooh, like knocks me out of my sort of like divine trance I was in. And he just goes, "You're really pretty." I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Okay, thanks. Thank you." He's like, "Yeah, I just saw you walking and you look really pretty, and I wondered whether you would like to go out." I was like, I don't really do dating apps. I don't know how I don't really meet people, but you just caught my eye." Why I love this story so much is because I have been saying to the God created the universe that I don't want to meet my partner on dating apps. I believe that I can meet the love of my life walking down the street, on a bus, in a bar, like whatever that looks like, right? I'm not saying it has to be on a dating app. I'm really open to like limitless possibilities. And so my initial thought, he wasn't my type at all. Not like he was short, he was bold. And I'm like, nothing wrong with that, but like I have a type. And it's okay to say that we have a type. I know that's ego, stereotypical, but we do. Same way you choose what clothes you wear, right? It's just it's just natural. Um and I just like I didn't deny him because I saw the beauty in it. The old me would have been like, "Oh, no thanks," like gross. But this me saw the divine in him, saw the character, saw his confidence, and I was able to pull out aspects that I loved, drew that to the surface, and expressed that back to him. I did say, "Look, you're not." I did say that no, thank you, in a polite way. But I also was able to see things that I probably wouldn't have been able to see before because my ego would have been like, no, that's not my type. Go away, you weirdo. Right. But I actually had a really nice conversation with this person, and it was a really nice experience. So as a result of going through a year of miracles, the lens of distortion and illusion are fading, certainly for me, and I'm seeing the divine in more things than I ever have before, and this reflects that in that lesson. So I hope that you're experiencing the same things, as I am.
I love your examples and your stories, especially the one about the homeless man, because that totally encompasses the exact thing that this is about, the exact idea that this lesson is about, which I just said. All things are echoes for the of the voice of God. So everything, there's a couple layers to this one. Sammy touched on most of them already. All things are echoes of the voice of God. So there's nothing that happens on its own. There's nothing that is an isolated event. There is nothing that is separate, which we already talked about. Everything is part of God's creation and an echo of the voice of God. But as Sammy already mentioned, we distort it. The ego distorts it. And so one part of this lesson is the idea in the book, it brings up judgment a lot. This idea that like we judge things, but it's not our job to judge things. That's the ego. That's the mind. That's the stories that we've held on to that wants to judge things. It's false perception. It's illusion that wants to judge things. This lesson is asking us to see things as the echoes of the voice of God and not judge, because judgment means that we're seeing things falsely. We're seeing things through illusion. Um, it's asking us to open ourselves to see the divinity in everything, to see the God and interconnectedness in everything. So one of the layers is the dropping of judgment, handing the judgment over to God. One of the things the book says is it's not our job to judge, it's God's. But then we also know that there is nothing actually to judge, right? Because God, our true nature, knows and sees everything as perfect and whole. And it is rooted in love. It is rooted in unity. It is rooted in peace. It is rooted in all is perfect the way that it is, again, underneath the ego distortion. It's not going to seem perfect because of the ego distortion, but underneath it all, it truly is. So that's the other layer. Then with with everything being an echo of the voice of God, with nothing being an isolated event, with every perception being a reflection of God's voice. Like Sammy said, we can see that things can be signs, that 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 things that people say, things that we witness, things that we see, if we see beneath it, we can see it as a conversation with God, as a sign, as a message from God. There's messages in everything, there's signs in everything, there's communication from God in everything. But again, it's underneath this ego distortion, the illusion. So this lesson reminds us that everything we perceive is ultimately reflection or echo of God's voice, which is the source of truth, all truth and love. What we see and hear in the world around us is not random or meaningless, but carries the essence of divine communication. However, as I said, the ego in our mind can distort or misinterpret these echoes, which leads to confusion. The goal is to start recognizing and tuning into true divine voice rather than the distorted ego voices. The voice for God always represents truth, love, and unity. So if you're seeing things that bring up judgment, that bring up fear, that bring up anything other than truth, love, or unity, you can know and be sure that you are not seeing the truth of what's happening, the echo of the voice of God. You are seeing the ego and mind's distortion of it. Um, yeah, so distortions occur when the ego filters or mishears the voice of God. Awareness of this helps distinguish the truth from illusion. And choosing to listen to the actual voice of God brings peace and healing. So the way that you'll practice this is in the morning and the evening. You're going to repeat the idea out loud, and then you'll spend about 10 minutes reflecting, 5 to 10 minutes reflecting on moments in your day where you can recognize the divine echo. Hourly, you can sit silently and remind yourself, I listen to the voice for God. And as needed, when disturbed, say, this is an echo of God's voice, reminding me of peace. And remind yourself that if you are disturbed, that's just the distortion or illusion that you're seeing. It's not the truth of what's happening. And that's all for me. Sammy?
Ah, and there's me shaking my head going, no, nothing more from me. And I'm the one that closes. And then I couldn't get off mute. So sorry for that awkwardness. Karina's like, will you hurry up? Nothing else from me. Oh, it's 9/11. High frequency number. That's what it means for me. Thank you everyone for being here, and we will see you tomorrow for tomorrow's lesson. Bye.